As many of you know, there is a climate summit in Copenhagen. Um, it started yesterday and it's going all the way through the 18th, and it's basically it's a big, how do I explain it? It's a climate change summit, and basically it's a bunch of global leaders that come together to discuss policies um, that relate to climate change, such as carbon taxes, cap and trade, uh, carbon emissions, things like that. And my opinion on that is it's just another, how do I explain it, my opinion on this? It's just another way to enact planetary systems of laws under things that don't sound so scary. You know, you have the United Nations, you have the G20 summit, you have all of these global entities that don't claim to be global governments, but in reality, if you think about it, they already set up planetary systems of laws. So really, what if the president goes to this thing? Basically, what he's going to do is he's going to sign away our Constitution and declare that our global problems and global laws and global uh, the global community is superior to our national sovereignty, basically saying international law overrides national law. And you know, Britain and several other European countries have already succumbed um, to this idea, to this concept that international law is superior to national law. So basically, the countries in the European Union, it's kind of scary that they actually have a European Union. Um, you've got all these countries close together, and basically they don't have solid sovereignty. None of the countries in the European Union have solid sovereignty. They are, how would I explain it? The European Union overrides any national laws that the countries would set up. So if the European Union decides that, hey, you cannot, none of the countries in this union can have this many carbon emissions going out, or if you have guns, we're going to have to take them away eventually. If you give your citizens the right to bear arms, we're going to have to take that away eventually, or sometime in the future, because that's not how the European Union rolls. So basically, yes, they subscribe to this concept that international law is superior to national law. As many of you may have heard, there was a big scandal that broke out. It was late November. And it's still being discussed at this moment. At this moment in time, it's still being discussed because it's a legitimate scandal that needs discussion. It's called Climategate. What happened is these hackers hacked into these computer systems and obtained information from a few universities, and they saw all kinds of emails where scientists were saying to each other, we need to manipulate the data because our data right here does not show that there's a large amount of warmth going on. Our global temperature has only increased a degree, despite all of these claims of global warming. Now, if you think about it, years and years and years ago, I think it was the 1950s, people were making the global warming accusation that the ice caps are going to melt, cities are going to be above the waters, we're all going to drown, blah, 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 blah. Didn't happen. In the 70s, there was all kinds of speculation from progressives about a concept called global cooling. And They said there was going to be another ice age coming if we didn't do something fast. And now, then it was global warming again. And now it's climate change. Because there is no other way, there is no way of explaining that global warming is still a legitimate concept if we're seeing a very, very obvious trend in declining temperatures. As you may have heard, it was snowing in California and Texas just a few days ago. And our temperatures are supposed to be rising. And, okay, in Wisconsin here, in Wisconsin, our summer was very, very cold. Okay, if global warming is occurring, why was our summer so cold? Our fall was even colder, and now we're approaching winter, and nobody can even stand it. It's just like you walk outside, and it's like you feel like an iceberg. That's how cold it is. And it's cold all over the U.S. California and Texas are seeing record low temperatures. It actually snowed there a few days ago. That is really surprising to me. That shows me that there must be that furthers my skepticism of this global warming concept, that temperatures are rising and it's all our fault. But really, it is my belief that climate change, so-called climate change, is more a result of sun cycles than human behavior, because the climate will change even without humans living on this earth. And yes, there's going to be some slight climate change with humans living on this earth and, sending carbon into the atmosphere, but it's not going to be as catastrophic, and it's not going to be as effective as the sun cycles will be in determining climate change. And so basically this global cooling, global warming, global cooling, these extremes that we're seeing are more of a result of sun cycles than anything. Now, why do progressives and proponents of big government kind of preach about these environmental problems and how we need to increase regulations and increase taxes and increase government control in order to save the environment? Well, it's kind of obvious. It's about power. It's about control. It's about taking your property. It's about making an excuse to take away your life, your liberty, and your property, your pursuit of happiness. It's about taking away all those things that belong to you. It's about eliminating the concept of self-ownership in the name of a so-called greater good that is not clearly defined except in terms of government. The government defines what the greater good is. The government determines what is good for the so-called collective, and so they kind of want to set this herd mentality that it is not the individual that has made this country great. It is some idea of a collective. I don't know. Basically, they're saying that the pursuit of the individual is not as valid as the pursuit of a so-called collective, and that is very, very ill-defined. It's not defined. It does not have a clear definition. You know how politicians always use terms like the public good and the public good and what else? The collective, the greater good, the common interests. I am a large individualist, so I believe that each and every individual has their own separate interests. And when they pursue those interests, they are more motivated to work and achieve, than if they are ordered to do so by a government bureaucrat in the name of a greater good that is not easily defined. So this climate summit is more about power and control than anything. At least that's what I think. So, again, Climategate, these scientists were saying, oh, we need to hide the decline. That, in their own words, hide the decline. They need to manipulate data to hide the decline. Also, they were saying things like, I'm gonna beat up this person who was